This week we're doing gathering user requirements and conducting interviews. So as you know, you were all at that general meeting yesterday, and the first step is figuring out the problem you're going to be solving. And so that's kind of what we're going to be going over. So yeah, it starts off pretty straightforward. You've got to know what the business needs, what the user needs, and then how you're going to execute it. So this little pyramid kind of summarizes the whole figuring out the problem and defining what requirements you're going to be looking for. So the first thing we're going to go into is business requirements, like how to talk to stakeholders, how to figure out what you're even doing, and defining that. So yeah, this is pretty much very straightforward. It's like what they've got to get done. It's the UT student government or the food truck. They're all trying to solve a problem, and usually they're trying to make money too. And so it's kind of broken down into what they need to get done, the use cases, and then kind of how that's going to happen. So yeah, the business requirements are just the critical features they need. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to go right into it, like how should you go in and conduct a stakeholder interview. So you're in there and you're talking to them and you want to figure out what to ask them and kind of have a good, get that information you need. So some of the goals, there's a lot of text here, but we're just going to give a quick overview on it. So really, when you're in there and you're talking to them, it's going to be, here I am, I'm the stakeholder, I'm sitting here. What's up, everybody? And you're going to be like right there. So it's usually fairly personal. It might be one-on-one. It might be a few people, and they're just going to be going over different things. So things you want to make sure you get down is you really want to get a clear idea on the goals. You don't want to come back 3 weeks later and say, hey, like what am I trying to do again? And so just really dig deep there. Again, it's like a conversation. It's not like an interview or anything. So keep it light, keep it loose. And then, again, you're working together with them. So that's why I'm sharing a cohesive vision. Really, you're working together to solve the problem. So if they're saying, hey, like, I want to cater to these users, then your product should cater to those users. You might have a differing opinion and say, well, I think actually, like, this could be really helpful to pregnant moms as well. And you should bring that up and then kind of have a discussion on it. And then lastly, you're going in there and you're trying to earn their trust and say, yeah, I'm the designer to get this done. So that's kind of the overview goals. And then now we're going to talk about some things, like questions to ask. But before we get there, I want to ask you guys, like, what type of questions you think might be good to ask during a stakeholder interview? Whatever you're thinking of.
So like what problems have you experienced with existing solutions?
Nice, okay, that's good.
Who are the users of the product or potential users?
Nice, yeah, you gotta know the users. How else are you gonna make it? Cool, any other ideas?
Ask them what sucks. Like really try to find like their pain points, because if you can just like solve one of those big pain points, then it's like a really good product already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. Those are solid responses. So yeah, here's just some quick sample questions. I think, yeah, you guys had some good questions. And so this one, just some of them, we'll go through them. It's like, what are the short-term goals? Like, what are you trying to accomplish right now? But then also keeping in mind the long-term goals. So like, how does this fit into the longer plan? Are you just designing a version 1 that they need right now because they need that feature right now? Or is it going to be sort of, you're building it as you go along? The person you're talking with, like, what is their role in the company? Are they the head of the company? In that case, they're probably going to have a lot of opinions on how to build the product. Or are they just someone who's been assigned by someone else to get this done? To really get a feel for who you're talking with. And then, yeah, who are the users? You guys said that. Definitely super important. You want to really dig deep there, say, who have you been working with? Like, do you have any demographic information? Do you know who your target audience is? Do you have any personas built out before this? And just keep on getting that insight. Major competitors would be a good thing to ask, kind of see who else is in that space. Like, are they the only ones building this product? In that case, there isn't much like other info to go off of, or have other people done this a lot, and what are their failing points, what are their, so it's just like a good comparison point. Then technological limitations, you want to ask like, what platform are we building this on? Is this a web app? Is this an app? Is this a website? There's all sorts of things. Do you want a blog? Do you want interactive components? How many engineers do you think could work on this? So in our case, in TPO, there's 2 engineers working on it, but if you're doing this outside, you kind of want to know their manpower. If they're powered by 1 developer in the basement, like, don't give them something too big, and yeah, kind of get their skill sets as well. Like if someone on your team is really good at CSS, for example, like they might be able to make really cool looking designs, but if they're just learning CSS, then some like really complicated asymmetric grids might be too hard for them. Some more questions, like what are some product concerns? It's kind of like what Jonathan said, like pain points, really digging in, like what do you want to get better from this? And then like what's their definition of success? So like in an ideal world, not any type of solution, just saying like what is the best result possible and how can we get to that? So yeah, that's just some sample questions. Really you want to, when you're going into the interview, you want to have some questions prepared. You know, it's just basic stuff. And then yeah, just some tips, like I said before, it's a conversation more so than just trying to check off your bullets. Like, did I ask them all the questions? You do want to ask them all the questions, but don't just go through it like a laundry list. Make sure you get the details. If they're being kind of vague and they're saying, oh, you know, like it's just going to work out, trust me, or things like that, like really keep on asking them, get those details, say, why do you want to do this, or how do you think this will be executed? And then lastly, this one has really helped me out a lot. Like just reword what they said to you and say it right back to them in your words. That way you can find out like if you're really in sync. Like if they're saying like, I want a website with a blog, and then you come back and say, oh, okay, you want a web app? I'm like, no, you're not in sync. So really just like give it back to them and make sure like you're always, yeah, that's what I want. Cool, so yeah, that's the interview process. I think a lot of you are going to be meeting with your stakeholders. You and the product managers probably are going to go into it together. Just remember, get the information you need, and don't be shy. If you're thinking, how am I going to build this, just ask them. It's better to bite the bullet and ask them than to, again, not know what you're doing. Cool, so yeah, that kind of covers the business requirements. A lot of this, again, it was really the product managers handled more of it, and we're more focused on the user requirements because we're user experience design. All right, so first off, we've got conducting user studies. This is what we've all been waiting for. So 2 of the big methods we're going to talk about are interviews, which is a one-on-one discussion to discover more about the motivations. Hey, Derek. The motivations, the pain points, the target user demographic, and things like that. So we're going to go more into detail. This is just kind of an overview. And then surveys. So how many of y'all have done surveys before? I'm pretty sure everybody has given out a survey. So we're not going to go too deep onto this, so I'm just going to give a quick overview on surveys. Really, you want to keep it short, and there's 2 different ways you can do it. You can either ask like yes or no questions, skills questions like 1 through 10, and those are good for getting like quantitative data. But if you ask more open-ended questions like why do you think this is good, or how do you think this could be improved, then that opens you up for getting like new information you might not have known about. So in your surveys, you just want to keep a nice balance on it. Anyway, so if you see this nice little drawing here, this is what your interviews might look like. Cool. So, the next question I want to ask you guys, how do you think you would find people to participate in a user interview? And this is before you've built a prototype or anything, so you're just trying to get your ideas validated. Any ideas? All right, Parth?
Like go to some sort of event that has a lot of those kinds of people. Like I know for us, like there's entrepreneurship week going on right now, so we're going to those events.
Nice. I dig.
Or ask like casual questions that don't relate at all to the product. Like if you're doing Spotify, like do you like music or like is there a good fit for your interview?
Got. Oh, so you ask them like questions.
Really broad.
Yeah. Who would you be asking that question
Yeah,
to?
sorry, I'll actually remember it. Screening questions.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Cool. Any other ideas? What about you
Send it out in group DMs.
Facebook.
Facebook groups. Beg people to fill it out.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds good. What happens if you send it out on Facebook or GroupMe and like people respond? You're getting good people, but they're like not really part of your target demographic. Should you take them, or should you be like, I don't know?
Outliers?
I think
Okay.
Doesn't it kind of depend? Like, maybe if you're open to looking in to like what those people think, it might just be interesting just to look at the data. But if you're like super focused on your one user group, then why even bother wasting your time?
Gotcha. Nice.
I think the info is still valuable. Like you're still getting input from people who like are interested. Or I think if they filled out the survey after seeing it on a group meeting, they probably like are like at least somewhat interested or like somewhat fit into your target audience. So I think that's still useful.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, those are all solid. So, yeah, like I said before, so after you've got a prototype, it's a lot easier to find user interviews because you can give it to them and say, hey, like, is this working? Is this not working? But beforehand, when you're in that like idea validation stage, it's tougher to get someone to sit down and just say, what are your pain points with music players? Like they might do that, but I guess it's less concrete. So yeah, you guys had some good options. And then here's just some good places to start as well. Like if you're redesigning something that already exists, then current users are a good place to start. You can get this from your stakeholder meeting and things like that, and just kind of finding that out because they have used the product, so they have a good idea on what the pain points are. You could reach out to users of a similar product and say, hey, like, I know you've got some experience with Spotify, but what are your thoughts on Apple Music? And then you can find people online who fit your target persona. And then, yeah, like you guys said, when I asked, like, would you just take anybody? And yeah, at this stage, it is pretty good to take anybody because the data is still valuable. And so lastly, if you're really in a bind, you can get your friends, your family. I know Adriana's not here, but like 2 years ago, I roped her in and I was like, you're doing a user interview with me. And she did it. So really, it's just all about getting that opinion and getting as much exposure as you can. Because the more opinions you get on it in those early stages, the more avenues you kind of have to explore. Cool. So, the goals on a user interview. So first off, you've got to set it up. Once you've found your people, you want to find a place, give them a time, give them a quick rundown of what might be going down. You don't want to bias them too much and say, hey, we're looking at an improved version of this, and it's going to be so much better, trust me. Just kind of give a brief overview. And then as you're doing it in the before you're looking at it, you want to get like their background. What kind of person are they? What kind of food do they like to eat? What, are they a student? Are they a worker? And just really you're trying to find out as much about them as you can. And then their use of technology, since we're doing like software stuff, what kind of tech they use is pretty important. if they're using mobile a lot, do they use web apps, browsers, what type of browser do they use, what type of phone do they have, what type of computer do they have. All of this kind of works together and you get a better idea of who they are. And then as you're getting this information, it's good to compare it to the personas that you made earlier and say, are they matching up, are they not, and things like that. And oftentimes you can refine your personas from these people that you interview. And then these last three are also pretty big. You want to know their goals and what they're trying to do, their motivations, and of course their pain points. Like that's really one of the big things you're trying to figure out. Cool. So now we're going to talk about some types of questions you might come across. So here I have 6 different questions, and some of them are leading questions, which means they sort of skew the person you're interviewing into one direction or another. Essentially, it's like they're biased in some way or form. So we want to not do that because we want them to give their honest opinions and not like you don't want to pressure them and say this is good, right? Like you enjoy this feature. Like of course they're probably going to say yes. So first we're going to look at this first question. Would you rather use the old version or this improved version of the website? Who thinks this is a leading question? All right, cool. All right, what makes you think it's a leading question? Yeah,
It suggests that the new version is improved.
Gotcha, cool. All right, the next question is, what did you expect would happen when you pressed that button? Leading? Not leading?
Not
Okay, what makes you think it's not leading? Or how does it come across as neutral?
It's pretty open-ended.
Okay. Yeah, they could say a lot of different things, like they like what happened after the button, or it's very open-ended so they can give their thoughts. The third question, how would you normally perform this task without this tool? Leading? Not leading?
I don't think.
really
Semi-leading?
I feel like they're just trying to find out how they usually, do a certain thing. I don't know if it's leading.
I feel like it would be more helpful to say, show me how you do so and so without like bringing up the tool. So like insight on how they go interact with the
Gotcha. Sounds good. Okay, and then number 4, do you find this feature frustrating to use?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
leading.
We'll be like, yeah.
Okay, what makes you think that?
It's like, yeah, I do kind of find this frustrating. That should be.
Yeah, I mean, you already have an adjective in there.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, so do you think adjectives in general are going to make it leading, or like if it says, frustrating, improved? Okay, yeah. And then number 5, would you use this product if it were in your house?
Yeah.
I don't think it's leading, but it's kind of useless.
Okay.
It's already in your
So like,
house.
it doesn't matter to whoever's making it, right? They're paying for it.
That's true. That's a totally different distinction of relevant versus irrelevant.
Lots of validation.
If this were in your hand and you were in this certain case, would you use it?
Squigglies.
Is that a tornado warning?
Is it the first week of?
Kind of sounds like it, yeah. Or an Amber Alert. Okay, and then last one. What are some pros and cons of these designs?
I feel like it's not that bad.
Yeah, great question.
Cool. Sounds good. Okay, so let's check it out. All right. So the first one was definitely leading. Asking this is the improved version of the website. How do you think you could fix this and make it not leading?
Would you rather use the old or new version?
Okay.
What version would you like to
version,
use?
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, what version would you use is probably the least biased. And then, what did you expect would happen when you press that button? Like you guys said, that was pretty open-ended. Then we've got, how would you normally perform this task without this tool? Also, yeah, not bad there. Did you find this frustrating to use? As you guys saw, the frustrating is a bit leading, but as we'll go more into it, like when you're asking the users, like how do you think you could reword this to get them to say their pain points?
What do you not like about it?
Or like, how do you feel when you use this feature?
I like that one, yeah. It's like, how do you feel, so they could say good or bad, and it's not in the question at all. Awesome. Then, would you use this product if it were in your house? Definitely a bit leading and semi-irrelevant. And then, yeah, what are the pros and cons of these designs is also good. Do you think that one could be improved in any way?
Maybe just more conversation, like what do you like, what do you don't like, with someone else.
Yeah, that could be good.
Yeah, you could even polarize it a little bit more. So instead of like pros and cons, they'll give you like a big list. But if you want to like see what really matters, you can say like, what do you hate and what do you love? So then they tell you like the really good things that you've done or like the really bad things.
Okay. Yeah, so to get a stronger response from them, you use stronger words in the question. Nice.
I was like, don't get the hungry one.
It's okay, you can edit that out.
All right, cool. So yeah, like we talked about, we're trying to ask open-ended why questions, and that's really the why is the big part. So you want to give the users the opportunity to expand on their thoughts and feelings rather than just being like yes or no. So if you say things like, is this good or bad, they're going to give you yes or no. But if you ask them things like, what are you trying to do here, then they'll tell you. And like different users will be trying to do different things. So they'll open you up to be getting more data. Asking something like, how do you currently do this, gives you insight into their current process, and you can compare that across users and say, okay, these people are all doing it this certain way. Is this way good? Is this way bad? Do we want them doing it like this, or should we try to nudge them in a different direction? Another question we've got is, what challenges do you face with the current process? And so this one's just getting them to, expand more on their pain points and really giving them an opportunity to just go all out and say, these are the things that I think I don't like, or these are the things I would improve, and things like that. So yeah, really it's all about getting them to talk. You don't want to be talking too much when you're doing the user interview. I'm sure you guys all know that. Cool. So here is an example. So let's say you start off and you ask the first question. You're like, what are you trying to do? And then Amanda responds back. She says, I'm trying to build a fence. And then you say, why? And so now she's going to elaborate that she wants to surround her front yard. Interesting. Why do you want to do that? Maybe it's so you can plant a garden, but why are you doing that? And so, as you can see, it just keeps going until you get to something. So, you can grow your own food. Why? So that you can save money on groceries. And boom, this is what you're really trying to accomplish.
Why do you want to save money on groceries?
I don't know, Amanda. Why do you want to save money?
I don't know. I use tuition.
So yeah, really you could keep doing this for a while. You can always ask why until you get to some real existential stuff. Why do I exist? So eventually you've got to stop. And usually the one that lines up with the product you're building. So if we were trying to make an app that helped people build fences, then Amanda would probably be more of an edge case here, because really her goal is to save money on groceries. But if we're like a carpentry app, like we can help her out, but more so the target demographic of that would be helping people who want to build like fences to build fences. But if she's someone who wants to save money on groceries by getting swiped into some dining halls or something, then this would match up. Cool. And so that pretty much covers that. Do any of y'all have any questions on what you've been wondering about, or like if you've done a user interview and you've been in like a weird situation, or just any thoughts? Who's done a user interview before? All right, nice, pretty much everyone. What was your experience? Did you think it went good? You think you're like, yeah, like I nailed that, or hard?
We did like a stakeholder interview, but we kind of like didn't know what to expect going in. I didn't have this beautiful PowerPoint before. But I think it went pretty well. We asked like open-ended questions. I think we got like their goals and stuff and what they expect down. So.
Gotcha. And what did you do after that?
We read over our notes and talked about it.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Okay, so this last one is like the system requirements. So this is when you're working, this is like you're narrowing it down even further. If you see it goes from high level to detailed. So now you're going to be thinking about things like what device is the product going to be on, what language will it be programmed in, what states will need to be built, how fast is it going to run, how many different components are necessary. So a lot of these are like what you would call functional requirements. So it's what you need to really build the product and get it done. And yeah, you want to be really talking with your engineers on this one and asking them, like I said before, like what can they build, how do they like it to be built, and things like that. And yeah, you're just really considering things like how many pages are going to be built, the scope of it all, like is this going to be a really big project, is it going to be a small project, and this is setting you up so that you have the constraints you need so that when you start your first flow scenarios, your wireframes, your prototypes, you can always come back and say, wait a minute, like I can't do that because I'm limited in a way. So that's that. Then we've got non-functional requirements. This is kind of the stuff that's like not what you need per se to make it. You can see there's this definition right here. They're not really requirements, but they're just constraints that you need in order to get the project to run. So things like I said, security is not something that you're going to be working on, but it's something you need to consider when you're designing it. Things like infrastructure, is the database set up to accommodate what you can do? Implementation, performance, like I said. So this is all the stuff that's like, it's important to build your product, but it's not necessarily directly correlated to there's going to be a login page here, there's going to be a sign up button here, and things like that. Cool. So that covers this part of it and this next part. So just to give you an outline of like where we're at, next week we're going to be looking at UX heuristics and like Gestalt's principles and things like contrast and grouping and things like that. And we're also going to learn how to use Figma and build stuff. All right, so that's what's coming down the pipeline. Now, the next thing, I'm glad you came here, Jonathan, because you're coming up here now.
Like right now?
Yeah, like right now. Get up. All right.
Hey guys.
So, me and Jonathan, we're building a product.
We are.
Yep. Jonathan, what kind of product do you want to be building?
We're building an organization.
All right. Awesome. So, we're building an organization, and you guys are the interviewers, and you're going to be asking us questions. Imagine it's like a stakeholder interview. So, sit on down.
What's up?
So fire away. Really, anything you got.
What are you looking for in a student org?
So we want a student org that builds sort of a builder community, and that when everyone gets together, they can build stuff together and look towards mentors who can give them advice. We want to make a strong platform for that. As a matter of fact, we want a web app that does that, one that hosts all their tutorials and everything.
Yeah. We want to create a system where people can go on it and learn how to create these modern technology products that are running our world, and make it easy for people to give them like a starting point in learning really cool stuff.
So do we want an organization or do we want a web app?
We're an organization that's building a web app to suit our organization needs.
I think that having a web app is obviously really, really cool, but in general, you can find any knowledge that you need online. Like, you really don't need anyone to be teaching you anything, but it definitely adds a component to have that human interaction, to have an expert in that field to actually be teaching you that information while also providing that starting point that can be in a web app. So I think like the combination of those two things are really important.
Let's see what other questions we might get asked.
Derek asked me a question.
So what is your biggest priority? Something like that. What are your priorities in what are your priorities for your organization?
Sure. I think the priorities for the organization that we want to create are in really emphasizing real-world experience and working together to create a product that's actually going to be used by people.
So I think that's one of our really big priorities. Right? In your house.
We also prioritize people who wake up at 7 a.m.
Or 9 a.m.
Just those two. As a matter of fact, our organization has some really weird requirements all of a sudden.
Why?
Oh, part. Well,
That's a good question.
that's a great question.
Well, you see, we're looking for highly motivated individuals who will wake up at 7 a.m. or 9 a.m.
Or 9 a.m.
because we found these times sync up with the moon phases and let us have the best possible experience on our platform.
/ organization.
Do you know of any other organizations / platforms that do the same thing?
Yeah, there's Texas Convergent. They're pretty similar, but
They're different. They're different. In just like two main ways I can tell you. One, their team sizes. When they put people on a project, it's around 15 to 20 people. And we really value like getting your hands dirty and actually having that experience. And we think that smaller teams mean you have more accountability in what you're working on. And then second is we have a curriculum. We actually teach you what you need to be doing rather than just maybe throwing you in the water, because sometimes it can be really hard if you don't have a starting point. And in terms of like curriculum, yeah, you can find all this stuff on YouTube or Udemy or whatever else. But like I said earlier, I think adding a human interaction and having a mentor who knows what he's actually talking about, he or she, is like important.
yeah, like Jonathan said, you can straight up go on Google and like you can just type this in and you're gonna get all that information.
Where do you think we got this information? Just kidding.
But yeah, so like we were saying, it's all about like having the personal people there. You can talk to them and say, hey, I'm having this issue. Whereas when you're just watching a video and it's not working, then, well, you're just screwed at that point.
Or comment sections.
How would you want users to interact with the product? Like you said, comment.
Oh, like are you talking about the platform product?
Yeah, the web app.
Okay. Yeah.
Makes sense.
How would I want users to interact with?
Because you
a web
mentioned
app?
comment section, so
Yeah.
I
Well.
Yeah, we want everyone who comes onto the web app / organization, whatever we are,
Ambiguous.
and yeah, interact with each other not only in person but online too. But unfortunately, we have no idea how a comment section works.
Yeah.
How do you think a comment section would be good for our product?
Or really users now?
Oh, I don't know. I'm
This is a-
a stakeholder.
This is a conversation. It's not an interview, right?
Yo, have you heard this thing called Notion?
Notion.
Notion, what's that?
Yeah, I've got no idea how this product works, honestly.
Not a clue.
Are there any apps that you've used that you liked? The layout of?
The layout of?
That-
Big fan of Notion. I just learned about it.
That was really quick.
Continuity issues. Yeah, I like the YouTube app.
Oh, yeah, we can. Alright, we're going to be building a new product now. Parth, what do you think we should be building up here?
Maybe like a bridge.
A bridge?
Alright, we're building a bridge.
Why? Between what?
I think between the EER and Jester.
Nice.
Why?
It's a really annoying walk to go on Speedway.
Why?
Because people are always trying to give you stuff.
Why?
Dude, that's how them, I don't know.
Alright, so Parth is trying to avoid free stuff by building a sky bridge. And I think I want a train on the bridge. Do you think that's feasible? Do you think you can build a train for our bridge?
I'm gonna say no, just because it's a train. But maybe we could do some other mode of transportation. Like we could have like
Oh, I
electric
thought it was
scooters, like
lines on the
specific
sky
for the
bridge.
village, something like that.
Like,
No, I want a train.
In airports where there's like the little like thing that like speeds you up, you know?
Oh.
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
Just gliding in the sky, bro. It's the ER.
That would be pretty incredible to have on Speedway, honestly.
That's the well action.
Yes, I think my boss
That
would
would-
be a fan of that.
Yeah, that would change everything.
So what is your role in the company as it pertains to this project?
The train. Are you the conductor?
Oh, I'm a third party they hired on to get this feature built. I'm just some random contractor. They gave me one document on how to get this done, but I don't really know too much about this. So luckily I'm talking to some very experienced UX designers who will help me out to get that train built. I know you guys can do it, you're very skilled. Here's where you gently dissuade me from my train idea.
Why do you think a train is a good idea?
It's fast, holds a lot of people.
Have you considered safety?
Safety. Trains are pretty safe.
But have you seen one like that in the sky?
Huh, I guess you're right, I haven't seen that before.
Interesting.
Damn, y'all ever been to Disney World? There are trains in the sky going from Epcot to like Animal Kingdom.
But Disney World's like a special place. I think we should keep it that way.
Why is it special?
Pro stands this is like a everyday usage. Disney World is like a different kind of experience.
Special occasion.
Sacred. Sacred experience.
I want a sacred experience for all the students.
Have you considered any limitations? Like, what's your budget? Who's going to be working on this? Do you know?
We have a $10 budget.
On the bright side though, we do have a mechanical engineer who
One Becky.
Just one.
just one.
Just one.
But he tells me that he really likes trains and that this is the way to go.
You got a Lego set? Like $10.
Maybe 20 if we ask him.
It might come out of your salary though. I hope you
No.
understand.
Do you know how many trains that have been built in $10?
You know, I don't.
No, not at all actually. I don't know any bridges that have been built for $10 either. Maybe like a stick across a stream or something like that. Should we up the budget a little bit?
Oh yeah. It turns out we just got a $2 million seat round.
$2 million friends and family.
With our expanded budget, what new features do you think we could add?
What's the problem again?
The problem.
The problem is that no one likes walking on speedway.
Yep.
Because of the table.
Because of the tablers. So the problem
Are the
with the
tables.
tablers.
Oh, the problem's the tablers?
I guess so. Yeah. We're the problem.
No one told me this. This wasn't in my document.
So the problem is the table.
Okay, so maybe we can pivot away from the train.
You can create a product that you wear so you don't see the tables.
But what if a tabler throws fruit snacks at you?
That's pretty aggressive.
I've encountered someone.
I've encountered some tablers,
What?
unnamed tablers who throw fruit snacks at people to get their attention.
Wait, that's good though. I want to throw fruit snacks. Like, who doesn't want to be thrown
Yeah.
free fruit snacks?
That's true. I just didn't want like flyers. And
Well,
You'd
Okay.
be surprised, there are a lot of people who don't want free fruit snacks. This is just from
So the-
interviewing that one tabler, or two tablers.
So the free fruit snack people get a pass, I guess. We're not avoiding them. All right, we're building a new product now.
that's on me.
All right, this product is, it tracks all your groceries and it tells you when you're out of milk and it orders the milk for you. Nothing on you.
So they're building that product and we are stakeholders, or we're building
I don't know, whatever one you want.
that product? Okay, you guys are building the product
Okay.
and we are, I don't know, we run a grocery store.
Yeah.
Could you say the product?
Right, so we're building a product that automatically tracks the amount of groceries you have, and if you're running low, let's say your recipe requires 2 bell peppers. You use up your 2 bell peppers, and you put that into the app, and it knows, and it orders from the grocery store 2 bell peppers.
I'm a single mom and I cook every single one of my meals for my children, and he runs a grocery store.
How do we build this?
How do we-
I'm trying to automate. I can't pay for anything.
wait, so y'all are building the product? Not us.
Y'all are building.
Oh,
We're building.
Oh, we're building.
Mhm.
You guys are building the product. I'm a single mom. I cook, and he runs a grocery store.
We've got, no idea where to start. We've just got this big, bold idea.
Yeah, Shaz, what do you see your customers, where are your customers the most frustrated when you're shopping?
Ooh, where are they most frustrated? I think they have a hard time, like, figuring out the exact amount they need for what they're cooking. Sometimes they buy too much, sometimes they buy too little. How do we get that more precise?
How would the app be able to fix something like that? 'Cause isn't that just like judgment? Like, that's not. You know what I mean?
You're the one who's building it, bro. Don't ask us.
If there was some way that the app could track my usage, then it could know how much I'm using and then order the exact amount for my customers. They would be so delighted knowing that the groceries are being shipped to them and everything. Is there some kind of way we could track the amount of groceries being used? Would I have would they put a scale in their fridge? Would they put it through a survey? Do any of these seem like feasible options?
Computer vision in the refrigerator.
Are they putting on Google Glass and it looks at it? What are my options, guys? you're pitching an idea now. We're coming to you with use cases.
Can you repeat the use cases?
Derek!
Well, there's those smart fridges now that can look inside your fridge.
Oh, really? What do they
Yeah.
track?
They like, you can, I don't know, but you can look inside your fridge from the outside, like with the camera, and then like, I don't know, maybe like implement like an app that connects to like, your phone, which connects to like the grocery store, like when you scan stuff. Cause like at the grocery store, like you know how much you buy, cause like they weigh it at first. But then like somehow like with some kind of technology, your refrigerator can like scan and see like the difference of like when you took it out and then you put it back in. And it's like use that difference to see how much you used of it.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
So
Unfortunately,
It was definitely in Silicon Valley.
most of my customers who come to my grocery store are poor AF. They can't afford this smart fridge.
They have to weigh it themselves, measure it their own scale.
Okay, definitely that is a solution.
or something like maybe when you buy your groceries, you input like how much of each thing you bought, and then every time you cook or something like that, you put in how much you used, and so it keeps track of those things for you, so you don't have to worry about it.
Or like if you use a recipe online, you can like say use a recipe and then like they'll use that amount of like the ingredients and subtract it from what you bought.
Gotcha, so like looks at the recipe,
Yeah.
reads how much it's using, and then subtracts it. Awesome, that's some big brain stuff.
That is huge brain, bro.
What happens if it gets off? Like, what if you're supposed to use a whole onion, but you go crazy up there, you use 3 onions?
Then you just like really emo, you really want to cry. You're listening to like XXX and you're cutting onions.
You adjust the amount yourself manually.
You have an option to adjust the amount.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What kind of UI do you think would be good for that? For a manual adjustment?
What do you mean what kind?
Like, would you think it would be like a form field where you input it, a slider, a
Maybe like
counter?
a plus minus thing.
Okay.
Like a manual dial that you can turn. Just thoughts.
Like decimals.
Okay, yeah, I like the idea of the plus minus and the dial. Cool. So I feel like we can build this app.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's
As a
happening.
single mother, this will help me so much.
You're gonna be so happy.
I am.